While Christine is distracting the kids, I'm going to do a quick introduction. This video is a very quick conversation with Adam from Built for the East. His Instagram will post it somewhere in here. He is the one that did the conversion, four-wheel conversion on our 2011 Chevy Express. We didn't go like super in depth. He just kind of gave the wave tops of what we did, corrected me on a couple of things, mostly nomenclature. So Adam did allude to the fact that he'd like to do a few more of these in the future. His clientele is more of like the Sprinter community, but I know his heart lies into this type of conversion and the conversion that we did. I met Adam a couple of years back, 5-6 years ago, when I was looking for somebody to do some lockers and some upgrades to my Tacoma, and me and him were spitballing conversions, and then we went down the road of doing the Chevy conversion. I hope that you'll enjoy this, and we'll leave Adam's contact information if anybody's looking forward to doing a conversion or is looking for questions and answers. They could reach out to Adam directly. All right, enjoy.
So just Cliff Notes version. What we started with, what did you do? Did you customize? What not customized? How'd you put it together? Lots of questions there, I'm sorry.
So we were trying to not have too much custom stuff, but have a dependable four-wheel drive van, right? So the axles are just factory axles out of a 2005 Plus Super Duty F250, F350. So it's a 60 in the front and a 10.5 in the rear. We didn't change the gearing, right?
Nope.
No, we didn't change the gearing.
73s.
We kept the Super Duty steering, the track bar, and the drag link, but we just converted the end of the drag link to fit the GM steering box. So basically, all the steering, the track bar, all that stuff, you can stop at any parts store in the world, and you should be able to pick those up no problem.
Pitman arm, though, right?
The Pitman arm ended up being, oh my god, we went through like 3 of them. I think,
But it just ended up being something. We just put the normal one back in and changed the track bar, right?
Nope. So that's a drop Pitman arm. So it does have a drop to it. It's made by Superlift. I can't remember how big the drop was. I think it was like 3 inches. Just to correct the geometry. That was a battle.
Yes, it was.
But we won. We won that battle.
The steering was very fighty.
Yeah.
Fighty to begin with.
Yeah, but we won that battle. That was good. The control arms are custom. It's similar to a Super Duty, and it's a radius arm, but we used all adjustable Heim joints and everything. You can't get those anywhere you want, but they're giant, and they give you a lot of warning before they fail. They wear out first. They don't just fail. So that part was okay. And you're kind of limited when it comes to a big custom suspension as to what joints you can use to get the proper travel and everything. So, but yeah, stock coil springs out of an F250. Those are literally from the Ford dealership. We didn't mess with the coil buckets. The distance worked out pretty well. I think under certain articulation, that coil does rub the frame a little bit. But I mean,
It's got to be.
that's what you get with coil springs. So you get deflection. And sometimes it deflects this way, it deflects that way.
So every now and then I have to put this into full articulate and yank that coil
Yeah.
and yank it over.
So we could have
You can
adjusted.
see the wear mark.
Yeah, we could probably build out the bottom mount a little bit tighter, like fitment wise, to that coil
it's
diameter.
I hear the rubbing. I know to jack it up.
But
yank it over.
again, it was like keep the coil buckets, the factory coil buckets, or we build a whole custom in front of the frame. So, we used those. They landed pretty close. The rear stock suspension, we just flipped the shackles and added a block, I believe, to level it out afterwards. Fox shocks 2.0s all around.
The ABS. We had issues with the ABS.
What did we do with the ABS?
We basically lagged the computer.
No, we machined down the rear hubs and pressed on. It's actually for a Jeep JK, for when you're putting 1 tons in a Jeep JK, to convert it to a 52 tooth tone ring on the rear, because the Ford actually picks it up from the differential, from the ring. The ring gear has a little gear on it that has teeth. So yeah, we put the JK wheel speed sensors in the back, hardwired them to the to the Chevy harness, and it worked out well. The front, literally, we just wired it in. We didn't have to change anything. It has regular Super Duty wheel bearings. The speedometer's off at 60 miles an hour, 10 to 15.
Well, 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had noticed. So it's 1,000 miles from Georgia to New York.
Yeah.
We hit about, and then when I set it, it was saying like 1250.
Yeah.
So
that was a game we were playing in the computer with telling the transmission what gear ratio we had and whatnot, but it was actually messing up the shift points, and it was like searching for gears, and it didn't know what was going on. It was downshifting too soon, so that's why we dialed it back in the computer to drive right, but the sacrifice was the speedometer.
yeah, which is fine. Waze tells you how fast you're going.
Yeah.
Which is very helpful.
Yeah. It's got a rear drive shaft we ordered 3 times.
Yes. So the linkage and everything, it came out of.
All the steering, the drag link from your steering box,
Yeah.
down to the axle, all of that is Ford. Comes right out of a Ford.
Gaia.
If you're stranded somewhere, you could more or less find
Well,
a
that
Ford on
was
the
the-
side of the road and take this axle out and swap it with that one.
Well, the whole idea behind this build was if you're in the middle of nowhere, Moab, you can walk into a Napa.
No, Alaska.
Yeah.
That was
If you're in the
fear.
middle of nowhere, Alaska, you can walk into a Napa and generally within reason get
Yeah.
parts for it, which we already experienced when we were down in Florida and
Yep.
toasted the transfer case.
Yeah.
We were able, which we would have been only a 2-day or 3-day turnaround if the guy on the other end actually ordered the right transfer case in
For
the first
1500, not a
1500. Yep. Yep. Wrong spline. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
So-
I mean, custom stuff is just the front control arms. The drive shafts are custom. But as far as like wear items and things you're really gonna be stuck replacing, the rest of it's all factory parts. So, I mean, that drag link has Ford threads on one end and Chevy threads on the other end, but just don't break your drag link.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, man, the feedback on this thing's been phenomenal. People stop us. This is literally the talk of the town where
We were
we are right
trending.
now.
We were
We were
trending.
trending on Facebook.
Oh my god.
But people stop us routinely.
Probably wondering what's going on.
Yeah,
what is
they
this
ask
vehicle
it.
here for?
So a lot of older guys will stop us and be like, "Oh, I remember these back in the day, 70s, early 80s. They used to do this a lot."
They were a lot simpler back then.
Yeah, so nobody, so obviously nobody, everybody loves it. But I know this isn't like your, this is your cup of tea, but this isn't necessarily what your customers are after.
No. If I were to do this again, the only thing I would do different is I would probably put coilovers in the front. Some small coilovers.
Yeah.
Just to situate that coil bucket situation. Again, I didn't want you guys out in Alaska with
For
some
sure.
nice custom coilovers. But, I
Yeah.
don't know. You spend the money, maybe you get good ones, and you don't have bad luck. You know?
No, I mean, it rides awesome. We've driven it back and forth between the Northeast and Georgia. This will be the second time we're doing it.
Yeah.
The thing, I mean, it drives smooth.
What does it get for mileage if you can? Have you tried to ballpark it?
Yeah, so we're getting like 12 to 15 at
That's-
70.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, so we're not complaining one bit. I mean, we drove 1,000 miles, and we stopped 4 times for gas, and it's what, a 30-gallon tank. So if you
that.
do the math there, you could figure all that out. The other thing I was trying to think of back to extended. So eventually we're gonna drive this up to Alaska, right?
Mhm.
So we have that giant wheel well in the back now.
Where
Back
the spare tire was?
Back to where the spare tire was.
Yeah.
So I know those extended tanks have come a long way.
I wonder if they even make a bolt-in, like, stock replacement tank that's bigger.
As long as it's not only like 10 gallons.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that didn't.
Like
that,
these Sprinters, I'm putting 40 and 47-gallon tanks in these things.
Yeah.
And it bolts in. It's crazy.
Yeah. So maybe something we can look at in the future.
That would be awesome, yeah.
If we could do. So it's a 30-gallon tank. If we did like a 55-gallon or something
Yeah.
like that. Because there's spots.
You want to be able to go at least like 250 miles, right?
I think
more like
at like a bare
300.
minimum, you want to be able to make. You want to go more like 400. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 legs on the Alaska Highway that are literally like people are running in on fumes.
Yeah.
And if that gas station's closed, you're SOL.
You're camping.
Yeah, essentially, you're waiting until the gas truck shows up,
Yeah.
which could be any number of days. The other thing is always just throw, gas cans on the back of it.
Yeah, but I feel that
Which
always,
I would
maybe I'm
prefer
just
not
paranoid,
to.
but I always worry about them getting contaminated or water in them or people stealing them or people
Somebody hitting you.
someone hitting you and there being gas everywhere. I don't know. I'm paranoid about that stuff, but
So I have 2 Roto packs, just 5 gallons that are flat. The flat ones.
5 gallons, so like that tall one.
Yeah, the tall one.
Yeah.
Well, the double. It's got the double on
Yeah.
it, and I was gonna lay them flat up on the roof. As like, no shit.
Yeah, just don't leave it up there because I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like the sun's gonna destroy them.
Yeah.
Make
I
them
know. I
brittle,
won't.
you know?
I'll only use that if we're actually utilizing
Yeah,
it.
if you're going there, like, sure.
But eventually I would like to look into a larger gas tank. Does any of the other? So some of the Fords had 2 tanks, but it was kind of a lie, right?
Yeah,
because
those
they
are
were
older
smaller
ones.
tanks, though.
Yeah.
Right?
They're like 15 gallons or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I never really knew what the purpose of that was. The problem with aftermarket tanks is that nobody wants to mess with emissions, and there's such strict guidelines on emissions with gasoline vehicles
Yeah.
that a lot of these companies won't bother.
Right.
But in Australia, they don't care.
Yeah.
So
It's
you
just getting it shipped here.
yeah.
By the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't. The math just doesn't. Because when we looked at it for my Tacoma, it ended up being like
It was the same deal, right? We
it
found
was
them in,
$250 for a gallon. It was 10. They were only 10 gallons bigger,
Yeah.
and it was $1,500 just for the tank.
Yeah.
So the math just didn't equate.
You're gonna pay $1,500 for a custom aluminum tank. That's what you're gonna pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is what it is.
What else?
I don't know. You tell me. I don't know anything about this thing.
The rock
I just sit in
slider
it.
steps.
Oh yeah, the
are
rock
cool,
sliders.
I
The rock
guess.
sliders were.
It
You
was-
made everything on that to include the actual step itself.
Yeah. You guys came to see it. You were like, "It's great, but it's too tall."
Yeah, for sure.
So this was great. And the height worked out perfect.
And you made these actually on your laser cutter.
Yep.
Yeah, the kids only need 1 step stool to get in.
Yeah. And a rope. Yeah. No, this thing's great. I'm happy to see it again.
Yeah, I gotta black out some of this stuff. We didn't know how this was gonna come out.
Before you came outside, I was like, "Oh, it looks great. You just got to spray paint those door jambs black."
Yeah, trust me. I got quoted $20,000 for a full paint job.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, nope.
Yeah, no, we're dealing with the same thing with my van. It's got a couple rust spots on the paint, and I don't know. Do I spend $15,000
Just do a wrap.
to get it painted?
Sand it down, prime it, wrap it.
I got to get the hookup. Everyone around here, it's $8,000 to get that wrapped.
What did
This
we
was
do?
$2,300.
I wouldn't even bat an eye at that. If someone offered that, I'd be like, cool. When you want it?
$2,300. I'll give you the guy's name. Chip.
Hey, that was your friend though, wasn't
No,
it?
no.
Okay, I thought it
No.
was your buddy. Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. He actually that's all wrapped on the top too. It's black
Oh,
up
really?
there.
I think I'm gonna do my roof white, try to reflect some of the. On this thing though, you might see it. On mine, you never see my roof.
Did you get down to the Overland East this
Oh
year?
no, I didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
No.
we-
Once you guys said you weren't going, I'm like,
we couldn't swing it.
Yeah.
It was just too far of a drive for. We still have tickets for next year because they let us just roll it over to the
Oh,
next
really?
year.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't.
I do want to go. I want to go next year for sure.
Um,
It turned out a lot of my customers. The week after, a lot of my customers, why weren't you there? Why we were expecting to see you there? I'm like, I didn't even know you guys
Yeah.
were going. I don't know.
yeah.
As far as I knew, I was just going to see you guys and see a couple of
Yeah.
vendors.
Um,
What do you got for?
what I wanted to talk to you. What was the rationalization by not putting lockers in it? Remember we talked about putting at least just a rear locker in it, and we said,
Well, so if I recall this conversation correctly, it was if you guys are out in a locker situation. We went back and forth about it, and we came up with the conclusion that you wouldn't be doing locker-worthy things with this. This would be hauling the trailer, going in and out of national parks,
Yeah.
driving on the property, but you weren't going to be three-wheeling the thing. But
I am not going to be in it.
But
for
that always changes, right?
yeah. Well, I was thinking like the sand, like sand dunes and stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes a locker hurts you in the sand dunes.
So this
actually.
is, so what is this right now? This is a posi?
That, if I remember correctly, is a limited slip, yeah.
Limited slip.
So, it's good.
Yeah.
But it's not a locker.
But the front have locking hubs.
Locking hubs, but it doesn't lock the diff together.
Yeah.
That just locks the hubs into the four-wheel drive when it's
Right.
engaged. That way, your front drive line's not spinning when you're driving down the road all the time.
Well, I mean, we have the winch, so if ever comes down to it.
A winch gets you out of any situation a locker would have got you into.
Quote.
Yeah.
Quotes.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be the name of the show. The name of the video.
I tell my customers all the time with, like, especially these things, they're like, do I need this? Do I need this? I'm like, do you even go off-roading with this?
Yeah. No, we do.
We think
Yeah.
we're gonna. I'm like, well, just get a winch. It's a
Yeah.
good safety item. Doesn't matter what situation you get yourself in, a winch will get you out safely.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a bunch of lockers and you don't know how to drive, you might get buried in a situation that you cannot get out of because you don't have the skills to.
Yeah. The only thing I was thinking was sand, right? And that's
But how much sand is in Alaska?
not there necessarily, but like down in Moab and stuff
Maybe
like
on
that.
our way
going
to
out to the
Alaska?
dunes and
Yeah.
going out to the dunes and stuff.
I got a
like
question.
Have
for
you
you.
done it yet? Have you been in the sand yet with
Not
it?
with
Not
this,
yet.
no.
Yeah, I mean, when you do, just air it down to like,
5.
no, not 5, probably 10,
Yeah.
and see what it does. You know, you can always add lockers.
Might just float over it.
And you can stop at any off-road shop in the world and they'll
And
work
put
on these
lockers
axles.
in it.
Nice
Yeah,
and
yeah.
easy. They'll have them on the shelf. You don't have to drive up here to see me. That's
1,000 miles for a mechanic.
it's the easiest axles in the world to work on. So
Yeah, probably won't even have to put it on a lift. You just get under there.
yeah, it's big enough. That's for sure. What were you gonna say?
So there's a light on there about airbags. Do we
Oh.
need to be worried about that?
Yeah, I got an airbag
I feel
light
like
on.
an airbag's
Airbags?
a big thing.
I think
to
it
be
was
worried
on.
about.
I think it was on when I left.
Maybe. All right. So back to my Chevy days. I can already tell from here that you've had the recall done, but you may need to get it done again. So you see that little bolster thing
Yeah.
where you would hit your face if you didn't have a seatbelt on?
Yeah.
You see the two little screw things up underneath it?
Yeah.
There's another one of those under it that's way smaller. But basically that airbag was coming apart. I mean, you've heard of airbag recalls before.
Yeah.
And hurting people. So they had us replace those airbags when we worked at Chevy.
Yeah.
And it's probably just needs another one. Have you looked in it? Why would you ask them? Yeah. I would call the dealership and say, here's my VIN. I heard I had a recall on it.
All right, good enough.
And, mention the airbag thing. It's probably just that. Your horn works and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Have you honked the horn? Are they-
Yeah, the kids honk it all the
do.
time.
That's right. The kids do. Yeah, it needs a better one.
Kids are in it.
Yeah, I mean, the airbag light could be on for a million things, but like there's a tensioner, I believe, on this that sometimes there's too much resistance there and it'll set off a light. Or sometimes the wiring under this carpet is kind of like exposed and right where you put your heel. Sometimes the
You
wire
rub
ends
through
up
it.
there and you'll rub through the wire.
That's a good placement.
All vehicles have that. I just know these things because I worked on them
Yeah.
for so long. But no, you have a scanner. Did you scan it at all?
No,
Oh.
I haven't.
Yeah, scan
I
it
just
up.
have a little hand.
Sometimes it's so easy.
Yeah.
It'll literally tell you passenger seat pre-tensioner fault. You just need to get a new tensioner for it. But yeah, airbag lights are usually pretty easy in these things. I mean, unless you crashed it. You didn't crash it, right?
No.
Nope.
No.
Not yet.
There's a sensor up here that gets swollen and corroded sometimes, but it looks good. Like the mounting bolt will corrode, swell up, and then break the sensor, but it looks good. But same thing, like if there's a problem with this sensor, it'll literally tell you front impact sensor fault, and you just unbolt it and bolt on a new one.
All right, Adam, where can people find you?
In my shop, in the dark, working on vans and rock crawlers.
Huh?
I want to build 6 more of these things. Mostly because of what you did with it. I'm so much more happy with it now that you guys have it. And
Are you taking it the next leg?
well, you put the wrap on it. It looks good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're getting there. We're through the seat.
Once the roof rack is on, we can. I think
that'll
it'll be
change.
nice.
Well, I could
Totally.
get that.
Yeah.
I just threw the CB antenna on there just so we had some
Yeah, that was my request. I'm a radio nerd.
That's not gonna stay there.
Well, some of the places you guys are going, you need that.
Yeah.
You know, like some of the I've been watching a lot of Alaska stuff, and some of those passes you need to like talk to DOT before you.
Well, you got to talk to the truck, see who's coming south.
Yeah.
So you got to find out. Yeah, once you get up on like Dalton and stuff like that, you got to know. You got to radio ahead. It'll actually say radio ahead.
And you guys got property up there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got
Talkeetna.
property up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done anything with it yet?
We're going up in May,
Okay.
so we're gonna start planning.
So we're gonna open up a cabin / campground.
Yeah.
So if you
that's
ever-
what I'm saying. All these people,
Yeah.
they rent vans, go up there in the summer,
Yep.
go kayaking, all that
Yeah.
stuff, and you give them a little spot.
That's all. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
what we're gonna do.
That's
So that's the plan.
that's a great idea.